Welcome to Marathon Champions, the podcast where running legends Benji Durden, Bill Rogers, and Ron Tabb share their timeless wisdom on marathon training and inspire listeners with their wealth of experience. These champions continue to impact the running world today.
Hey, Craig, how are you?
Is that Ron?
Yep.
Hello, Ron. Where are you right now?
I'm sitting at a restaurant in Nice, France.
In Nice?
In Nice.
N-I-C-E. Well, I always heard about that place, but I never raced there.
Can you hear me, Craig?
I can.
Okay.
Oh my God. It's so wonderful. So wonderful to see all you guys.
Yeah, we have this podcast started by Benji and Amy and Ron Tabb, and then I got involved, and we just got to make them more visible. And I think one thing, I'm trying to do that with our store site and everything, Craig, but still working on it though. And because I'm not good with technology, Craig, Benji, Amy.
Well, I know Benji is, but you and I aren't, Bill. Ron, what are you? Are you a tech guy or not?
I'm not at all a computer person.
In fact, what we're doing right now is Ron's talking via my phone, via WhatsApp, because we couldn't get it to work on Zoom from Nice.
Okay,
that's pretty good.
Well, that's another way to do it. I know WhatsApp can go all over the world.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
Benji, I remember you at the early Peach Trees, somewhere 81, 82, talking, extolling about the virtues of Apple and all that they could do. And you were an early Apple.
Yeah. About an Apple II back around
you had a
82.
Macintosh. What came first, Apple II or Macintosh? I think it was Apple II.
It was the Apple, and then the Apple I, and then the Apple II, and the Apple II Plus, and then the Macintosh. That was 84 for the Macintosh. I got my first Macintosh in 1984.
All right. I just remember that you were talking, and I had the first computer desktop in my town in 1979. And believe it or not, I traded an event for it, and it was made by Xerox because a high up executive at Xerox wanted me to come in for a run. So they traded me a complete, computer with letter quality printer. And back then that was $5,000. So
easy. Easy.
We'll pay for your trip, but we'll give you this $5,000 and all the software. And I said, done. But it was DOS. And so I had to have all my employees trained on it, 2 or 3 of them. And then I didn't train. So I just come in, I dictate. I used it mainly for word processing. So I dictate stuff on the airplane or in the car and then hand him the micro cassette, and my administrative assistant would just type up the letters based on that, and I'd proof them, and then we'd send them out. But that's how I would do all my thank yous on the airplane on the way back from whatever event I was at that weekend.
Yeah.
And then hand her that cassette, that micro cassette, that very first morning on Monday. And by sometimes Monday at 5:00, all my thank you letters went out.
Yeah.
So, but
Incredible.
Probably 80% of it was just simply word processing. We did.
That's a lot of what I did too. I did some database stuff, and it was Multiplan. Multiplan was the precursor to Excel, and we do some data management and that. But yeah, it's just but computers.
Well, I received this charcuterie board.
Very cool.
A sympathy present from a friend of mine, and I wish I could share it with you guys. Gosh,
well, that's all right.
I'd love anything to have you guys be able to eat some of this meat and cheese and stuff. Okay.
Good
All right.
food.
Now there you go. I sent Amy. Now, Bill, I drink coffee. Is that coffee or what is that? Tea?
Coffee.
I'd love to have a coffee latte with you too.
Green tea.
All right, green tea.
We got a meeting. Maybe at the World Cross Countries, January 26th.
Let's do it. But this is
Chick-fil-A.
Some sweet. This is sweet tea with lemon, and I was drinking that before I moved to Atlanta. All right. Now this happens to be a cup left over from Chick-fil-A last night. I had one of their Cobb salads, and I just put more iced tea in it to freshen it up here. So.
Oh, Craig, are you living in Atlanta now?
No.
I'm just telling you that I lived in Atlanta when I met Sandy. Well, I was in Atlanta a lot, from 79 through 84, and I met Sandy, my first wife, on an Eastern Airlines flight going down there to record some stuff for WTBS when they broadcast the race that year. Yep. I think it was 1981.
Yep.
And then I came back. No, I met her in 82. So I was back to try to defend my title, and she was on the airplane and came up to get my autograph because the pilot was a runner. She wasn't. Well, she was a bit of a runner, but the pilot knew more about me than he just had her go back because he knew that she'd get my autograph for him on a magazine. And so that's how I met Sandy. and I took her out a couple times while I was there that 4 days. And then when I came back for Peachtree, she picked me up at the airport and took me to the to the Lenox Square, whatever that Lenox Square, remember? Right by the starting line, Benji, Lenox Square Hotel.
Yeah.
So my meeting with Ron Tabb was watching him run and win the St. Louis, what was that, Olympiad XIX Marathon? Is that what it was, Ron?
Yeah, the St. Louis, yep.
St. Louis, it was an Olympiad Marathon from that 1904. And I saw you run, and it was cold as hell. I'd won the 10K, and I think my testicles nearly froze in those nylon shorts back then. There wasn't enough insulation.
I was telling Benji, it was like 15 degrees. It was freezing.
And you know what? Ron came in, and he had a beard back then, and he had icicles hanging from his beard, his ears, his nose, everywhere, with a knit cap on. And he wasn't the most attractive guy at the finish line that day.
But black ice in that race.
There was.
On my ass.
And somebody told me that he ran for one of the Missouri schools. So that's when I started to follow Ron. Of course, Bill, I followed Bill ever since 76 since 75. Actually, Bill, is it correct? Was your Olympic world cross or your world cross country 75 or 74?
75.
75. What?
Yeah.
75. So when did you get third? You got third there, right?
Yes, I got bronze.
And who got second and first?
What's his name? The Scot took first. The Spaniard Haro, who defeated Frank Shorter by one spot. He took fourth in the Olympic 10K in 76. Yep. He just passed away, I read, about a month or two ago. Great champion. And the Spaniards were always very good, but they seem to have, it seems to me that only the Americans are still trying in the distances, Craig and Benji and Ron. What do you think?
Well, let me just say this. We're at that age where guys our age are starting to fall.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of those last man standing things.
Yeah. Kjell-Erik Stahl recently.
Who did?
Kjell-Erik Stahl, the Swedish marathoner.
Yeah, he was truly more of a specialist in the marathon, right?
Yeah. His 10K was, he could run a split almost as fast as his PR.
Well, I started following Bill after his world cross country. And then, of course, Boston made the whole country aware of Bill. And Benji, I knew you from going to Atlanta for the Peachtree Road Race.
Yep.
Before you made your Olympic team, I knew you as a top Southern regional, 10K, 8K, 10K, 15K kind of guy.
Yep.
And I knew that my appraisal of you was that you were going to do better the longer the race. I thought you would present more of a threat to me at 15K to 20K and half marathon than what you did at 10K if I could just get away from you. Okay. And then I'll never forget 84. You were training in some sort of a heat suit to mimic the heat for Los Angeles. Is that right?
Well, I'd started that in 77, and I had run a race down in Puerto Rico, the San Juan 450, and I knew I needed to be heat trained, and I started running better in Atlanta races and kept doing it. And then Dr. Dave Martin told me that it simulated altitude training, so I just kept doing it. So I've been doing that for several years.
Well, that's the only advantage of living here in southwestern Illinois at, what are we, 100 feet sea level, is that the heat and humidity, as Dr. Dave would say, the heat and humidity would crowd out the oxygen in the air. And so when I was training hard on the track in May, June, July, and August for Europe, in this heat and humidity, it was like training at altitude. And Marty LaCroix said the same thing. Gainesville was so humid. He said that when I got over to cooler, drier air in Europe, he said it was almost like I was getting 20% more oxygen. Yeah. So I really think you're right there, Benji. Dr. Dave.
There's a lot of science behind it, but there's two things going on. One's Boyle's law, which is essentially says the higher the temperature, the less the gas can be dissolved in the liquid. So it sort of affects how much oxygen you can carry in your blood. And the other, the more you press the body with heat, the more the body will work to dissipate the heat, which will give you better, capillary beds, et cetera, at the surface of the skin. So you can tolerate, discomfort better than the people that haven't done that.
Okay. So all I know is that
it works.
We had the cold, as Ron can attest, in the St. Louis Marathon. We had the cold and snow and ice up here in St. Louis in the winter, and in the summer we had worse. I think we had worse heat and humidity than Atlanta because you guys were higher in altitude.
Yeah, we were 1,000 feet, but
so you would get cooler at night, and so at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock the next morning, it seemed like it was more cooler than what it was.
Yeah, the summers I would go out at midnight to run at 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Well, you know what?
I agree. The training in the heat and humidity of Missouri, I think, is just as bad as training in Florida in the summertime. Because it was just the humidity in Missouri is very similar. Being on the Missouri River, Craig, how close were you to the Mississippi there in Illinois?
25 minutes. I'm 25 minutes to the arch driving.
Okay.
Normal time.
Yeah, so you had that heat and humidity that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
I
And
think at the worst, we could say we trained in uncomfortable conditions, and that made us tolerant of uncomfortable feelings in a race.
now the guys, I mean, we're talking Nike Oregon Project and other groups. They're so sophisticated in their training now. I mean, they go up to these altitude camps and they just do so many things that we didn't even consider because of either logistics or money or both or time.
Yeah, as well as we didn't really even know that there were things to do.
yeah,
Now,
I
did Ron-
the science? We didn't really have the science information back then to realize that the altitude training would be that beneficial to us.
And shoe companies didn't want you to go there then, or they just didn't even talk about it. And of course, any of us, if we had shoe deals, they weren't too much, and they were secret. And you know what I mean? Today, you're right, Craig. I think everyone's going to altitude, but it's hard to change your home. You know, if you're that's a tricky thing too. I think, Craig, you're very much an Illinois guy. You know, and Benji, you were very much an Atlanta guy and everything. And but
Ron, where did you go to from after college? Where did you base? Were you done in Texas?
I went down to Houston for 3 years.
Well, that can't be any cooler than St. Louis. My God.
Oh no, it was yeah. Houston was brutal, and that's when I talked to Paul Geis. Paul came up. We were on a run together, and he said, Ron, you really ought to consider moving up to Eugene. And he had a big influence on me moving up to Eugene and training, which was, in hindsight, was a great decision.
who was that?
And Ron, did you graduate from Central Missouri, Ron?
77.
No, was that where you graduated from? Was Central Missouri?
Yes.
And that's the same year that I came out of college. So we were both on the.
Yeah.
Now I just turned 70.
Everyone in the Midwest knew who Craig Virgin was. Trust me.
Pretty much everybody in the country knew who Craig Virgin was.
Well, I just turned 70. Bill, are you 75 or 76?
77.
70. Damn. And Ron, are you 70 now or 71?
71. I know you just, our birthdays are three. I think yours is on August 6th.
Second.
Second.
I'm on
Okay,
August 2nd.
August 7th.
Okay. And see, Mary and Alberto were also born in that first week of August. Am I correct?
Yes, and Vivi Bakila was too.
And also,
Vivi Bakila, Alberto and I all on August 7th.
yeah. And then also Steve Jones was born in that first week of August.
Huh.
So there's a lot of really good runners that were born in August. Benji, are you 72?
74 in a couple of weeks.
So I'm
August
the baby of
28th.
the whole group.
Yeah.
Yep, you're the youngest.
And Mary was Decker on August 4th. So,
Yes, so
yeah,
I knew
really
that.
good distance runners, and I'm not sure, but I think I'm trying to think who was the Wisconsin girl, Susie
Favor Hamilton.
I believe her birthday's in August.
All
Yep.
I know is August. Is it the fact that we're Leos, or what made us good runners?
Well, I'm a Virgo.
Well, so you're September then.
No, August 28th. It's just
Yeah, you're on the cusp. Okay.
I'm on the cusp. But
And Bill, when did you turn 76 or 77?
I'll be 78 December, late December 23rd.
December.
Yep.
And is Frank Shorter younger or older than you?
3 months older, born on Halloween. Yep. Yeah.
Down in New Mexico, right? Was that where he was born at or not?
no, Germany.
No, he was born overseas.
Germany.
Yeah.
That's right. His dad was a doctor.
I believe Munich.
Yeah, I think it was me.
Yes, so when he won in 72, they talked about that he was born in that city.
Yep.
Kind of mind-boggling, really.
Yep.
That's the statistic that nobody would dream of. So,
Yeah.
well, gosh, I wish you could be on a Zoom call, Ron. I'd love. Now I know that I weighed in at 180 pounds. I got down after my wife died to 176, and then I've finally been able to eat again, and I'm back up to 180. I'd like to go down to 175 and stay there. Benji, I raced at 140 to 145, so I'm easily 35 pounds, 40 pounds heavier than what I raced at my prime.
I was curious what you raced at when you were in college.
140 in college, and then 138 to 140. And then when I muscled up a little bit more after college, remember, I was so young. I was very young for my class. So I got more muscle on me after college. And that's when I'd be 144, 145 in our winter. And I'd be down to 140 when we were doing intervals with just shorts and spikes on in the summertime.
10K is different from the marathon.
Bill, how much did you weigh when you were racing at your peak?
I was usually 128 pounds, something like that.
Benji, how about you?
I was 140 to 145. I got down to the low 130s a couple times, but I wasn't strong enough. I just couldn't. I'd get flat. I just couldn't hold it down there. It was just too light.
And
Right,
that's
so
a good.
I was the funniest of the four of us. I was at 116.
Well, yeah, but you're also practically not there.
Wait a second. Did he say 116?
Yeah.
I was 116 at Boston when I ran 209.
Jesus.
Okay. All right. So here's the $64,000 question, Ron, since I can't see you. What are you at right now?
About 180.
Okay. So we're about the same weight, but you're shorter than I am.
What are you, 5'8"?
I was 5'10". I'm now 5'9.5".
Okay. Yeah, I'm 5'6". So yeah. I got down last year about this time. I was down to 169, and then I put weight back on. I had a family member pass away. Just kind of depressed me. So and my wife Tracy's over here. She's going, and you love sweets. So
All runners do.
yeah, I think so. Thank you, Bill. And Benji, I followed what his advice was, getting the M&Ms and having a few M&Ms, which was a good thing.
Yeah.
Benji and Craig, you both ran Peachtree a lot of times. And Ron, did you ever run it?
I ran Peachtree, but I really never tapered for Peachtree, as you said, because Adidas wanted us to go there.
Yes.
But I never considered myself a 10K guy. I'd go there, I'd finish in the top 20, top 15. In fact, I'm not even sure I finished in the top 15.
I'll go check it out while we're talking, see what you ran.
All I know is that 81 was that was an incredible race that day with Adrian Leak taking it out and Rod Dixon and myself and some other good guys. And Benji, I only ran 10. You probably ran 15 or 20 of them.
Yeah, I didn't really run that many, but I ran a lot. But that was a great day. That was my PR, 10K PR.
The depth that day with the conditions, we were in the mid to upper 60s, lower humidity. And then you had Adrian Leak that just went out. I call him the prancing Welsh pony because he pranced on the balls of his feet and his arms would go up. And he had long hair back then.
Yep.
He was out of Eastern Tennessee, I think.
Yeah.
And oh my God, he took it out. And usually I would be in the lead by the time we went up Heartbreak Hill, Cardiac Hill, whatever they call it, where the hospital is.
Right. Hospital Hill.
But I didn't catch up to Adrian until the 4-mile mark. And then I look back behind me and I have a 351 miler sitting just like 10 yards, 15 yards back behind me, like a heat-seeking missile that if I went right, he went right. If I went left, he went left. I knew what he was going to do. So anyhow, that 81, the depth, that was a very, very special year, Benji.
Yep. And the thing that I remember from it, there was this other thing going on. There was this Wolf Camera promotion. The first runner that could get from
the finish
line with a T-shirt and a Wolf Camera hat would win $1,000 savings bond. So I was on a heat-seeking mission for that. And you were standing at the end of the chute kind of puking, and I was trying to get by you so I could go get a T-shirt so I could get out over the 2 miles I needed to get that. So I remember pushing you out of the way and running across the field.
So you were that son of a bitch that did that, huh?
Yeah. But hey, I got the camera. I'm not the camera, the savings bond. Galloway thought he was going to get the savings bond. He ended up just getting a camera because I got there before he did.
Well, you know what? Getting a camera is not a bad goal either.
No, but I wanted that savings bond. And, I kept it until it matured and got $1,000 out of it. And that was my first money from Peachtree.
Me, I wanted to get into that water and I wanted to get a Coke.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried about the savings bond.
No, you probably had no clue that was going on.
I didn't. You had to be local to know that.
Yeah, had to be local.
Well, is everybody well? I want to know the status.
Did you ever break 4 minutes for the mile in high school or college?
I went 4:05 in high school, and I ran 4:01 college. And I never trained or I wish now I had pointed a season at the mile, 2 mile like I did in high school. Because with my strength, I should have run 356. Now with super shoes today, 356 is nothing. There's high school kids doing 356 to 358. I mean, we can talk about this, and I want to talk about this and get everybody's opinion as to. Let me just say this: super shoes, Sebco, and the IAAF, which later became World Athletics, stepped in right away, and stopped those shoes, just like Global Swimming stopped those bodysuits.
Yeah.
But Sebco had been a paid ambassador for Nike for so long that, as far as I'm concerned, there was a conflict of interest. And then when they finally, 2 years later, when they finally did something, guess what? The specifications matched Nike shoes specifically.
Yeah.
So Nike didn't have to change anything.
And they're still not enforcing the regulations. I saw today that a bunch of runners, ultra runners, are running in shoes and that Adidas is making that don't meet the standard, and nobody's doing anything about it.
I just think that if you take what Nike said early on of somewhere in the 3 to 6% improvement on the shoes, 3 to 6%, and now they're saying their newest version could be 4 to 8%. That's the same thing as taking a PED. And
Craig and Benji, Ron, don't you think? I also think, though, Craig, yes, it's our records. This is the oldest sport the world's seen. Our records are set in stone. There's so much competition, 100 some years, you know what I mean? And that other sports are constantly getting new records. For our sport, they're so hard to break. Some of them, of course, were set by dopers from yesteryear using steroids. How did you like the 209 marathoner woman from Chicago, Craig?
I didn't. I was watching on TV with Karen, and I turned to her and said, "This isn't real." I said, "We're watching some sort of enhanced performance. It's either the shoes, or it's EPO, or it's some sort of a new steroid that they don't know about yet." But it was just ridiculous. And I know that
since we found that she was dirty.
Well,
yeah,
they're waiting for this B sample, but and it was it EPO or what? Did anybody read?
She was taking a masking agent.
Oh, that's right.
So we don't know what it was she was on. EPO is highly likely, but and the record will stand because when they found her masking agent, it was well after Chicago. So we've got records we know. I mean, the Chinese records, these German records that are still out there. We know that they were dirty, but the way the system works, we can't get rid of them.
I just know that in
leadership.
Go ahead, Bill.
I mean, I'm asking about the World Marathon majors. Shouldn't they be leaders dealing with this a little bit? But they know the average runner is clueless. Am I right?
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, economically, they want to have the prestige of having some good runners, but they don't have that many good runners because, the field's diminished in terms of invitees, as well as they get this record. They don't care if it was dirty because it gives them a lot of attention.
Even if it's bad?
Well, but nobody is registering for Berlin thinks, okay, all these, really, really fast times at Berlin might be dirty. They just think, God, it's a fast course. I got to go run there.
Oh yeah, the average runner. I understand.
Yeah, that's what that's how the economy of the sport works.
Yeah,
but Ron, we don't see you on the screen. So what are your feelings about the super shoes after they've been around now since 2019? What do you think?
Actually, it was 16.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to correct this. Like juiced baseballs. I mean, you've got Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa juiced baseballs back in the day. And the players, they were juiced. Those records are still there for the home runs. And now what we're dealing with is the same thing with shoes. We look like, a bunch of pedestrians compared to what the guys are doing today. And they'll just, the average runner is looking at it as if it is just the evolution of the sport, which the records that you saw set in baseball, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, they're not going to change. They're not going to go back and remove those records from those athletes. And same thing as the records they're setting today, they're not going to go back and remove those records. Unfortunately, it is what it is today, So I don't like it. I would like to see what some of these guys would be doing today with the same types of shoes that we had back in our day.
I say put them in.
I have a feeling they should be running as well as we did.
Well, I'll come out a little bit in defense of the way the things have worked. The shoes we ran in were significantly better, say, than the shoes that Zatopek and people like that wore. the tracks today are so much better than the tracks I started off in high school and junior high on. And, things keep progressing. I will also say I'm probably of the people here. Well, I don't know, you, Bill, you may have run some super shoes. I run in super shoes regularly, not because they're making me fast in races, because that's not ever going to happen again, but it makes my legs a little less beat up when I run a hard workout. And I appreciate that. I don't need to feel bad after a hard workout. It doesn't, I don't gain anything from that. And that's part of what's making people faster is being able to run harder.
And let me say this about that.
The shoes are much better, and you do recover much faster than the shoes that we used to run in. I know that the shoes that I run in, I got a pair of pair of Nikes here recently, and it's unbelievable how much better my legs feel after going out for a walk or a run than some of the older shoes that I have.
I agree, Craig.
Craig, have you tried any of the new super shoes?
I've not tried them. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I was just going to say, if you go to Boston, the BAA's headquarters in the Bank of America building on the Finish Line Street, they have a kind of a little mini museum of shoes worn by runners running Boston over 100 years or whatever. And when you take a look at them and when you read about them, it's a natural progression to try to improve the shoes. And I think too, and now that it's such a huge business in particular, and Nike has always been a pretty cutting edge company. And so I have no complaints about super shoes. I just think the failure of our sport is a leadership failure by the people in power in regards to the doping issue. But on behalf of Seb Coe, he did start the Athletes Integrity Unit, and that was a good response,
Why haven't they also applied it to Ethiopia as well as Kenya when Ethiopia dominates the top 20 global list in the marathon?
Well, the one thing about Ethiopia, it's a country in civil war. It's a country with basically a single airport that you come in on. And so I've been told when a drug tester, because they don't have their own lab there in the country, when somebody comes in to do drug testing, word goes out immediately and all the athletes disappear in the hills. On the other hand, they have caught
how that happens.
They have caught some Ethiopians, and as well as I think it was in 16, they had a camp where they caught one of the guys that had all the drugs, and a whole bunch of Ethiopian athletes, female athletes, were there. And they just all disappeared, and they never got tested. They never got in any trouble. And we know that we don't know all the Ethiopians are dirty. That's not probable or even true. But we know that a lot of them were, and yet they got away with it. And, there needs to be a little bit more follow-up when they go to training camps, because that's where they can catch them.
Let me say this, that you've got to make certain out of competition testings. You can't be unavailable. We just had a top American sprinter.
Yep.
His name was Fred Curley. Am I right?
Right.
And he was just suspended for
He
missing.
has an excuse, but it's not a real good one.
Yeah. He's saying that they didn't come in the gate. He has
well, that's true too. But his other excuse was he actually was in jail for one of them.
You mean they can't come in and do a drug test in jail?
Well, he hadn't made it known that that's where he was, so they would come there.
Tough thing.
That's a novel excuse.
Well, yeah, but I don't think they're doing that in Ethiopia. I don't think they've got the whereabouts testing going on really for the Ethiopians. I think they've done it now for the Kenyans, because I think I've read about a couple of Kenyans that have been punished that way. It seems to me that three strikes and you're out is a very lenient, because you get one strike and you get a little bit more of attention too, and you're going to make sure they know where you are at all times if you're not stupid.
Well, the other thing is that we know Ethiopia, when they dominate the marathon to a certain degree, and that's where the money is, then it's incumbent on World Athletics to create their own laboratory, if not in Ethiopia, right next door across the border in another country.
Yeah. Well, World Athletics doesn't spend the money on testing. That's WADA. And WADA has to be funded, and it's not funded as well as it should be. I agree that the marathon majors ought to be who's funding it. I mean, they ought to be putting up a couple $1 million. That's peanuts to them to build one of these labs. And it wouldn't be that hard to do, but the political will to do it isn't there.
Fast times sell.
Oh yeah, they do. And in addition, there is a certain need for stars, because the stars are what produce the noise, etc., for the media. And so
The companies.
Yeah, and they don't really want to lose those stars. I've heard stories about lists saying these are the people that you can't test, or if you test and they test positive, you got to lose it.
That's ridiculous, but
Yeah, but I've heard it from more than one set of people. It may just be a one of these urban myths, but it certainly sounds believable.
like the winningest milers or something
Well,
like that.
it ranges from sprinters to ultra marathoners.
Really, there's no money in ultramarathoning,
Oh
right?
yeah, there's money in ultra marathons. In fact, in some ways, right now you're better off as an American male ultra marathoner than you are as an American male marathon runner because the ultra marathon hasn't been inundated yet with the Africans and the shoe companies that are sponsoring these guys, they get more bang for their buck because these names are better recognized in the ultra marathon community. And part of the reason I know this is I live in a community that has a lot of ultra marathoners. Boulder is right here by the mountains, and the trails here pull in a lot of people, and it's easy to travel because most of the ultras in the United States are Western events. So it's easy to travel from Boulder to one of those events. And they're guys that make a good living running mountain races. They
have shoe deals.
Yeah, and if I would probably be an ultra marathoner or a mountain racer if I were racing today, because it's really difficult if you're not, a 2:05 marathoner to make a living in the world today.